This conference will now be recorded.
Guys, can you hear me? Can someone confirm that you're able to hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
yes, we can hear.
Yes, yes.
Great, thank you. All right, let me share my screen. You should be able to see my screen now. Yep. All right. Today we are going to learn some theoretical concepts. Might be boring for some of you, but please bear with me. All right. So Microsoft Azure is nothing but it's a set of data centers located across the globe. So strategically, Microsoft placed their data centers in multiple countries, in different locations, for obvious reasons, right? They want to attract the customers from all over the world. So initially they started with few data centers, but now it's growing like anything, right? And whenever we create any service, whether it is web application, which we have seen yesterday, or databases or virtual machines, which will create soon. So all these services that we are going to create will be created in some physical infrastructure hosted in some physical data centers. So data center is nothing but a building with many servers and other related infrastructure. Unfortunately, we cannot directly access these data centers directly while creating the resources. So when you are creating resources, you might have observed yesterday that we were able to choose a region like East US, Central US, South India, East India, Central India, right? So we can only choose regions, but not data centers. So basically regions are something which contains multiple data centers. So when we choose a region while creating any resource, Azure will automatically pick one of the data centers in that region automatically. Okay. And one region obviously can have one or more data centers within that region. So region is nothing but logical group of one or more data centers. So this slide is a little old. Azure is generally available in 60 regions out of 71, right? So I think now overall there are 75 regions in which Azure is supported. So let us quickly go there and see the list. So here these are all, we can click on this button. It will show us the an animated kind of page. I don't want to click on this. It will be a little slow, but I recommend you guys to have a quick watch in that animated image. But otherwise, these are all the locations or regions in which Microsoft has support. And in United States, you see, there are many places, and there are some places which are coming soon. Okay, so this is the official documentation using which you can understand about regions. This is very important, especially when you are starting work for a new customer and they're not yet into Azure, so they want to explore Azure. Then this is the documentation that you should refer. So if some person, right, the customer is from the US, let's take Texas or Austin. So now you should ask them which location is closer to you guys, where exactly your business is more. So based on that, you should choose the closest region for their end customers. We'll talk more about this in a moment. But this is the official documentation in which you should explore more about regions, how many regions, all that stuff. Now you see a term called generally available. We'll talk about this. I have a separate slide for this, separate point in one of the slides. We'll talk about that. So here is the hierarchy. We already discussed about this briefly yesterday. The very first step is creation of Azure account. I already showed you how to create an account. Each account can contain multiple subscriptions. Okay, so you can create multiple subscriptions. Basically, account, you can think it as a tenant. Its technical term is tenant. So for every organization, there could be one tenant. So even when you are working in on-prem, you will have some kind of Active Directory, right? So in Azure, also you have something called as Active Directory. So the very first top level entity is a tenant, in which you can have one or more subscription assigned to that. So now when you create an account, you are providing a credit card or debit card, right? So that card will be assigned to a subscription. It will not be assigned to an account or tenant, but the card will be assigned to a subscription. So now within a subscription, you can have one or more resource groups. Yesterday we have seen how to create a resource group, right? So resource group is nothing but a logical container. A resource group is a group of resources. It's as simple as it is. So when you are working in your projects, so you combine all the services that you want into one resource group for an individual environment. You are working on a project, your customer says we want 3 environments. So obviously we'll create 3 resource groups. That's one way of creating Azure resources. So basically this Azure resource group helps us in managing all the resources as a group. There are many other details about resource group. I have a separate slide for that. We'll discuss all that. But takeaway from this slide is one subscription can contain multiple resource groups, and each resource group can contain multiple resources. I don't know if there is any limit as such, but generally we will not have to worry because you can create thousands of resources in a resource group. Okay, all right. So this is one example on how your project would look like. So whenever a project in Azure gets started, the architects, the solutions architect will be discussing requirements with the customer, and they will arrive at architecture diagrams, which is something similar to this. This is a simple one, but it could be complex when the requirement is complex. So in any project, as we discussed, there could be multiple resource groups, right? So in this slide, I have taken only 2 resource groups, but it could be 3, 4, 5, it depends on the requirements. So you have QA resource group and production resource group. In QA, you have a web application. This is app service that we created yesterday. So app service plan is not shown in this diagram. Intentionally, it is removed. One web application might invoke multiple different APIs. So here in this diagram, the first API is doing something. It's talking to storage account. So storage account is another service in Azure. So API is another service in Azure. Okay. So likewise, there are multiple APIs. The second API is talking to some other service called SendGrid. SendGrid is a service for sending emails. Storage account is a service for storing files. And few other APIs. One of them is storing data into Cosmos DB. One of them is reading data from Cosmos DB. You might also have some background services, background jobs, and then you might also have some monitoring solutions. So this is a simplest architecture for any application running inside Azure. These are common services that everybody will use in their projects. So now we need to create, as a DevOps engineers, it's our responsibility to create all these services. Now this QA environment, so let's say we as a team has completed this project, development of this project. When I say development, it's only resource creation, not the development of the code which is hosted inside APIs. So development of the code will be done by developers. It could be Java developers, .NET developers, PHP, right? And in web application, the code again, Angular, React, Vue, there are many different technologies out there, right? So the development will be taken care by developers, but DevOps engineer's responsibility is to create or provisioning is the right word. DevOps engineer's responsibility is to provision this entire resource group. Now, this is QA, right? It is done. The customer has reviewed everything and they gave us a go ahead. Now our next job is to replicate the same thing in prod environment like this. There are 4 environments. Obviously, guys, can you please go on mute? There is some background noise. You can unmute if you have any questions. See that. Yeah, I am muted that person. All right. So now we have 2 resource groups, one for each environment. The services are getting replicated, right? So when you have few more resource group, obviously we should not create them manually, right? Because as the number of services grow, manual creation is risky, error prone, and time consuming thing. So definitely it makes sense to automate because of this reason. That's where automation comes into picture. We are going to in this course we are going to use this architecture. Basically, not just this, beyond this there are few more things we will also be working and creating all that. So far we have come through some concepts, right? One of them is Azure region. So Azure region is nothing but a name. It's not a physical thing, but it's a name given by Azure team based on the country and geographical location. So let me quickly show you this in the portal. So this is Azure management portal. Whenever we are creating any resource, right, we will see one of the field called, let's say, I've taken this path, guys. There are many ways of creating resources. Yesterday we have come from here. Okay, you can also click on create, or we can come from this button and choose one of the services that you want. I see there are many guys who have joined today. Today is the second session. We will share you the recording for yesterday's session. Okay. In case if you have any question, we will have a separate Q&A session at the end of this session. Okay. All right. So now we are in the create web app page. Now you see region. So in every service, not every service, almost 95% of the services, while you are creating them, you will see this field called region, which will be populated by all the regions in which Microsoft has support. So sometimes you might not see some of them here. For example, China, you won't see China here, and some other countries here. Okay, it depends on the subscription that we have created. When you're working in real time, we'll see all the details. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay. So now this is region here, right? Now let me show you one more thing. So let me click on this SQL Server and click on Create button. If I scroll down, you see the word location. Even this is populating all the locations, right? All the regions that we have seen for application, web application. So there is little confusion because SQL Server is a different team within Azure, and app service is a different team within Azure. Every service will have its own product team. So probably they need to fix this small bug. This is a bug. Region is the right word, not location. You will see region everywhere. Let's see what's there in storage. Region. So as far as I know, everywhere it will be region except very few places like SQL Server. So region is the right word to use, but location means the actual city name in which the data center is available. Okay. So region is nothing but a name given by Azure team related to the geographical location and country in which data centers are available. Yeah, location is the exact city name. Now, very important conditions. So whenever you are working with a new customer for the very first time, you should ask them where exactly their business is operating, where exactly their end customers are located. Based on that, we should decide in which location, in which region we should create the Azure services. Now, a question to you guys, why is this really important? Why should we care about location in which the customer's business is operating? Anybody?
Have fast access.
Why?
Reduce network latency.
Very good. Yes. Yeah, you are both are right. To reduce the network latency between the end customers and the hosted location. I'm from India. The website performance will be faster. The network latency will be slow. If I am accessing, my voice is breaking. Is it for everybody, guys? My voice is breaking in the middle.
No, it's fine.
No.
Oh. Okay. So Mohammed, I think a problem. Can you please check your internet, or you can rejoin? Yeah. Thank you, guys. So I am from India. If I am accessing a website hosted somewhere in India, it will be faster because the network latency will be very low. But if I'm accessing a website hosted somewhere in the US, obviously network latency would be high, and obviously because of that, my website will be loading slowly. So this is very, very important. If you have performance issues, then the first thing that you should troubleshoot is location or region. Okay, good. And now once you decide the region, right, you will all obviously be understanding client's requirement, and your architects will also be designing a solution architecture that I've just shown you, right? Now, while doing that, there is one more important consideration that you guys should be doing. I know these are all architect level considerations, but yeah, they are good to know. Let me navigate to this. So let's say you arrived at 10 services for your project. Now all those 10 services might not be available in that particular region as of today. So Azure has around 200 and 200 plus resources. They provide 200 plus services, or they call it as products. Okay, so now you decided to use, let's say, South Africa. Your customer is from Africa. Now After your discussions, initial solution discussions, now you need to create Azure's resources, right? So before you do that, first of all, you should check whether a particular service is available in South Africa or not. That's very important, right? So navigate to this page. I think we have already seen this. So now we need to navigate. I think they made some changes, guys. Okay. So let me do a quick Google. Azure products by region. So products, services, all are same, but terminology is little different in different places. So now let's say we wanted to use a service called Databricks. Oops, this is not working properly. Or any you can take anything. So let me choose this IoT hub, right? So now Africa is our customer where they are located, right? So now let me navigate. Where is Africa? It's not in. So here regions, some regions are selected, but not Africa, right? So let me choose everything. So you see, this IoT hub is available in almost all places. It's not available in West India, you see, as of today, and they don't have any plans on when they will be releasing it in West India. That means you should understand that not all services are available in all data centers or all regions. And for example, you see Norway East and Sweden Central. They plan to make it live in second quarter of this year. So same way, even this particular service is not available in Germany, West India, and other regions. So when you are working for any customer, right, this is the place where you should come and see whether that particular service that you have decided to use is available as of today or not. That is very, very important. Okay, so let me remove this and show you all the products. So by default, it will not show anything, but you can click on this button to see all the products and their availability in all the regions. I have selected everything here. It will take some time because it needs to load everything. Yeah. Now you see Africa, right? Databricks is available, luckily. That's good. South Africa, not, it is available. But unfortunately, some services are not available. HealthBot is not available in South Africa, not. That is the place where you should see. The next point that you should keep in mind is that the first column is non-regional. Remember, I mentioned 95% of the service, while creating them, you will be choosing a region. But what about the rest of 5%? So there are non-regional services as well. For example, Azure Bot, Azure Active Directory, some cognitive services. In fact, the next tool that we are going to use is Azure DevOps. In case you have attended my previous demo, we are going to use this particular tool called Azure DevOps. This is also hosted in Azure. This is a website, right? Obviously, this is a website. This is also hosted inside Azure. But if you ask me in which region, that region is not there. I mean, every region it will be deployed. That means it becomes non-regional. So you see, Azure DevOps is a tool. It's a website developed by Microsoft team and managed by Microsoft team. So if you want to see where exactly that particular product is hosted, just do Control F, Azure DevOps. Yep, you see, Azure DevOps has a tick here. It's a non-regional service. That means we don't have to select while creating this. Microsoft will replicate it across all regions. We don't have to worry about in which region it is deployed. because this is the tool that will be used by all the customers across the globe, right? So it doesn't make sense to deploy that in one single region. So they will make sure that it is deployed across all regions. Azure Active Directory is another example. Okay, these are all various. Azure Monitor is another example. Active Directory. Okay, so definitely 95% of the services are region specific and 5% of them are non-regional. Okay, all right. And then there are some terms, right? So let's say there is a service called virtual machines. Okay, assume that it is a very new service that Microsoft has released recently. So definitely there will be bugs, right? So Microsoft guys, whenever they release any service, they will release it as preview. That means there might be some bugs. They want customers to review that and provide feedback. There might be bugs. They might be making some improvements. All that, right? So that's what preview means. So should be very careful. If you are recommending something for your production, that's fine, but you should not use preview features or preview services for production unless you have your customers approval. So if something is in beta, then it is called as preview. And once everything is tested, Microsoft will make it GA. GA means generally available, right? So this preview versus generally availability is at multiple levels. A region can be in preview. So let's say in India, there are right now there are three data centers. There are three regions in which Microsoft has support. One is in Mumbai, Pune, and Chennai. So let's say tomorrow, if Microsoft decides to add one more region in Delhi, they will first release it as preview. Now that's at region level. But what about individual service level? So let's say East to West, it's GA now. East to West is a region which is GA now. So within a GA region, there could be some services which are still in preview. Especially, let's say there is a new service called Azure load testing. So this is a very new service. You see, January 12th, 2022. Almost, I think in January they released this new feature. So this feature is still in preview. This might be available in East to West. So at service level, it might be in preview. But now once it goes to GA, once it is generally available, once it goes live, then within the service, there might be features which might also be in preview. So preview is at all the levels. It is at region level, service level, and feature level as well. So should be very careful whenever you are using some service, some feature, to double check whether it is in preview or in GA. So it is highly recommended that only GA features, GA services, GA regions are used for your production scenarios. Don't use preview features because Microsoft might remove that service or remove that feature completely. We don't know. Generally, they don't do that, but there are chances. And there might be bugs. So SLAs not coming to picture in this case. So please be very careful. So let me share my experience. In one of my projects, we had to use a preview feature because without that feature, we could not go live. So that preview feature is related to SQL Server, Azure SQL database. So we waited for a year almost, but still they did not make it GA. So we convinced client also agreed. We went live with that being in preview, but later, luckily, Microsoft has made it GA. Okay, And while the service is in preview, Microsoft will not charge us anything for that. Only GA services, GA features will be charged. If something is in preview, Microsoft will not charge us. Latency, right? We were also talking about latency. There are tools to understand about the latency. For example, in the US, there are many data centers, many regions, right? East US, Central US, East US 2, East US 3 is also coming soon. So when you are working for US customers, they have many regions in which they have support. Now, how do you pick the closest one, right? So there are tools for doing that. So one of them is this. So share this URL with your customer and they need to open this and they can check the latency here. By default, East US is selected because this server, I'm not using my machine, local machine. This is a virtual machine created inside Azure. The virtual machine is created inside East US. So obviously, East US will be closer. And I have selected West Europe. So just to show you the difference. Now you see, the latency is very less for East US and it is around 100 milliseconds for West Europe. So now share this URL with your customer, ask them which is the closest one. Ask them to select some of the US regions. They don't need to choose West Europe because if customers are also not able to decide which of these regions to select, then ask them to select everything. So East US 1 is the low latency one. Right? That's how you decide. This kind of tools will help you in deciding the closest region to your customer. Okay. So this is one tool. This is not from Microsoft. This is from some guy like us. Some person has developed this and hosted it so that people can use it. All right. And very important thing is, are there any government related compliance things, regulations? It is very important. Let's say, for example, if your customer is from India, I will take Airtel or Vodafone as an example. So if Airtel approaches you, Airtel is your customer, and they ask you to migrate everything from on-prem to cloud or Azure, right? So definitely you should pick one of the Azure data centers only, because Government of India, there is a regulatory called TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. That's a government body. So they have a strict condition saying that the customer's data should not go outside India. That's a restriction from government itself. So when you are working for Airtel specifically, that's only in India, right? So all the data must be inside Azure only. So if you by mistake also if you choose some other country, then the customer will be in trouble. And same case is with European customers. So they have something called as GDPR. So that rule says that the data should not go outside Europe. So each government will have this own compliance regulation. So location plays or region plays very important role. These are all considerations that you should keep in mind when working in any project. Definitely, when you join an existing team, all these will be in place. But if you are charged of working with a new project, then you should keep all these in mind. All right, let's talk more about resource group. So a resource group is nothing but a logical container which holds the resources related to a project. So when all resources are in one resource group, they share the same life cycle. You can delete all of them at once. If you want to do a bulk update, you can do that. So those kind of advantages you will get. Any point of time, each resource can exist only in one resource group. For example, yesterday we created an app service. So app service can be there only in one resource group at a time. You cannot associate multiple resource groups to one resource. That's not possible. So you can add or remove resource to a resource group any point of time. So this is obviously simple. Now, is it possible to move a resource from one resource group to other resource group? Obviously, yes, definitely it's possible to move a resource from one RG resource group to another resource group. Now, a resource group can contain resources from multiple regions. For example, yesterday we have created a resource in East US. Can I now add another resource in West Europe, but still maintain one resource group? Absolutely, yes. Technically, it is possible, but generally people don't do that way. Now, resource group is also helpful for providing access. Let's say there are 100 resources in one resource group. I am the administrator for this particular resource. Now a new team member joins my team. Now I don't need to provide access to 100 resources separately. All I need is I give access to parent, which is resource group. That's it. All the access to the children will be given automatically. So now a resource can interact with other resource which is located in other resource group. That's absolutely possible. For example, let's say you have a web app in one resource group, and this web app talk to a database, but the database is located in some other resource group. Now, web app can talk to database without any problem. The only requirement is the web app should know the connection string of the database. The web app should know how to connect to the database. That's it. So resource group is not, it doesn't impose any restrictions as such, because it's just a logical entity. Okay. So now, because it is a logical entity, why do we need to choose? Why do we need to choose a region while creating the resource group? If you remember, resource group also needs a region while creating it. So basically, resource group also needs some space to store metadata about its children. So that's why resource group, though it is logical, still while creating resource group, you need to choose a region. In that region, there will be a small space which will be occupied to store the information about its children. Okay. All right. That's about resource group. And next thing is SLAs. So Microsoft guarantees its customers, right, about the availability of the services to be up and running most of the time, right? So, but Microsoft guarantees that always all the services will be up, but unfortunately, they will not give 100% availability to any service, because for obvious reasons. Microsoft also needs some time to do maintenance work, right? So that's why they don't give 100% availability to any service. But we as customers definitely need 100% availability, right? There are different techniques using which you can do that. I will show you for one of the services called database. I will show you how to achieve 100% availability for database. So now what SLAs will Microsoft provide to any service? So there is no constant thing, but every service will have its own different SLA. So the SLA for a service could be 99%, 99.9, or 99.999. Right? Technically, they call it as 5 nines, 4 nines, 3 nines, 2 nines. So if a particular service is down, if the SLA is 99.9%, then it might go down for 10 minutes in a week. This is the worst case. I'm not saying that it will definitely go down continuously for 10 minutes. No. In this week, probably today it might go down for 10 seconds. Tomorrow it might go for 2 seconds. So together as a whole, the worst case that something can go down is 10 minutes in that week if the SLA is 99.9%. Okay. Now, what if it goes down beyond this time? In that case, Microsoft will pay us the cost, not in terms of money, but they give us credits. The next month, the billing will be reduced up to 25%. Okay, so definitely SLAs are also important, but we will not be doing anything as such additionally. Okay, so this is the URL which contains a summary of all SLAs for all the services.
So,
Now, if you remember
Praveen,
the architecture,
one question: how you calculate this hours actually from SLA? There is a formula for calculating hours.
yes, I think
Could
you
you
need to let me
note this
quickly show you.
formula?
Yeah, yes, you are right. There is a formula. So let me quickly show you an example so that you'll understand. So just say Azure App Service SLA. Okay, so this is summary of all. So let me select one of the specific thing. Yeah, SLA for app service. So this documentation talks only about SLA of app service. Okay. So now your question is how does the calculation happens, right? So yeah. Okay, this is how much the service credit they give us up to maximum, right? So percentage is calculated based on this. Monthly uptime is equal to maximum available minutes minus downtime divided by blah blah. So there is a percentage, there is a formula, and how this downtime is calculated. Based on that, whether they give us back this 10% or maximum 20%.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Praveen, I have a question here. So, as far as this SL is concerned, from our side, we don't do anything, right?
Correct, correct.
Okay, so if it is less than 90%, Microsoft will automatically credit some amount, or else from our side, we have nothing to do.
No, in case if you want to increase this SLA, customer says no, 99.95 is also less. For example, here, this for app service. What is the SLA that Microsoft is giving? I think 99.95. Yeah. So if customer says no, 99.95 is not good to us, our business is very, very critical. So can you please try for 99.99? Then we need to do something. I'll show you for database how to do that. Okay, how to increase the SLA from 99.95 to probably 4 nines or 5 nines. So in that case, if you want to increase, definitely we need to do something, additional things for increase, for getting more SLAs. But for calculation, all that Microsoft will take care. For that, we don't need to do anything. Okay.
So I mean, actually, my question was related to that slide. If you go to the slide, there is a hours is provided. You said for example, 99 or 99.9. Like 99.9 is like 10.1 minute. We cannot remember 10.1 minute or
You don't need to
15 minute.
remember. Say you don't need to remember. This is just for your understanding. I think I copied it from somewhere. I did not calculate all that. I
But there
copied
is
it
some
from some.
calculation formula, is it right for this kind of thing?
Yeah,
How
there
you
could be
can
some
arrive
formula.
at the or something like
There
that.
could be some formula. You can, yeah, you can for a month, right? You can calculate that as well. Okay. All right. Let's move on. This is not important, guys. Don't worry on how it is calculated. This is not at all important. Just conceptually, you should just understand. There is more about SLS, so we don't need to worry about all that. Just for this Just to understand what is SLA, there is composite SLA as well. When you are working as a solution, right, there could be multiple connected service. So in that case, composite SLA comes into picture. There are advanced things, so don't worry about all that. Okay, so let's move on. Now earlier I showed you an architecture, right? There are multiple resource groups, multiple environments, right? So now what are different ways of creating Azure resources? One simple way is to use Azure Management Portal, which we already seen, right? Let me show it for new people. So this is Azure Management Portal, and we can create any resource or almost all the resource from this portal. But unfortunately, this is not the best practice in real time that you should follow. This is the easiest way to learn things, but not a good practice in real time. So first of all, let's understand what are various ways in which we can create the services, and then we'll talk about best practices. Okay. At least to my knowledge, these are the various ways. The easiest way is portal. Then you have something called as Azure CLI, PowerShell, but most common one used across clouds, not just Azure, but everywhere people use this technique called IAC. IAC stands for Infrastructure as Code. So we'll spend at least 2 weeks in learning this IAC. This is very, very important for a DevOps engineer. Now there are many technologies for IAC. In this course, we will learn these 3 technologies. So these are the 3 technologies available in Azure. So ARM stands for Azure Resource Manager. So ARM templates is the first technology. Now ARM is little complicated. It is easy, but definitely for some people who are new to code, definitely it's little complicated. Because of that, Microsoft has recently released, last year they released another technology called Bicep. Bicep is very, very easy when you compare with ARM. Bicep is from Microsoft. ARM is also from Microsoft. Now the third one is Terraform. Terraform is widely used because Terraform can be used to create Azure resources, can be used to create AWS, GCP, or even in on-prem. Terraform can be used anywhere, in any cloud or even in on-prem as well. Terraform is not from Microsoft. Terraform is a third-party component from another company called HashiCorp. So they have, I think, 7 or 8 such products. One of them is Terraform. Right. So we will learn all these 3 for different real-time scenarios. So now, end of the day, all these will make use of REST APIs internally. These REST APIs are also called as Azure Management APIs. So whenever Microsoft releases any new service, they first release REST APIs. Now all these 4 different things that you see here, these are all different teams within Microsoft. So they also need to provide that facility for us, for DevOps engineers. So it will take some time. So that's how internal things work in terms of automation. So these are different ways in which we can work with Azure in creating, in managing Azure resources. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's it, guys. Any questions before we talk about quiz? I
Yeah,
can see
Mahesh,
some. Yeah,
I
please
have
go
one
ahead.
question. This for IAC is okay. For configuration management, Ansible they are not supporting.
Yeah. So Ansible is very widely used in AWS. Here we will learn one of them, right? Ansible is also IAC. It's widely used in on-prem and AWS. It's more for infrastructure as service. So here we will learn this, one of these. We'll not learn Ansible here in Azure.
But it is supported by Azure, right? If we need to.
I think so, but I never used Ansible. It's more for virtual machines only, to my knowledge. But now they have support to other app service, those kind of things, Ansible can also be used in Azure. Yes, you are right.
Thank you.
Okay. I hope I answered the question, Mahesh. If not, let me know. So Timaradi is asking, what about the website used like Google, which is used globally? Exactly, I mentioned, right? They will even that, right? If you look at this, I'm from the US machine, right? So let me do a Google, quick Google. So just say Google and press enter. It takes to .com. But if you do the same thing from India machines, it will take you to google.in. And same case is it with Amazon as well. I will just say Amazon. No in, no .com. I'll just say Amazon. So it will take me to Google, and you see the first one is Amazon.com. Of course, this is an ad. Ad is showing in, but .com it is showing because I am from right now. This machine is in US, so Google will automatically detect and it will take you to different website. So here, Amazon has different websites hosted in different countries, but Azure DevOps is from Microsoft. It doesn't has .in or some other country domain, right? It's just .com. This website is hosted everywhere. Internally, they will take care us to the appropriate location. Okay. I hope I answered Timaradi. Yeah, Tamil Banam, thanks for sharing the Azure chats. Yeah. API, right? So what is an API? API stands for application programming interface. It's more for developers. Let's say I'll just take a simple example. So I think you are also from India, right? Yeah. So now let's say you want to understand how many post offices are located in India. Simple example, right? I'm sure everybody knows Book My Show. This is a movie ticket booking app. So now these guys will have APIs which returns us the ticket information. So API is a programming interface which takes inputs and which returns output. Anybody who wants this ticket information, they can leverage the API. Post office. Post offices are maintained by Government of India. Now, in our web application, we want to show list of all post offices along with zip codes. Right? So Government of India will release an API. Whoever wants to display post offices in their website, they can invoke the API. That's an API. Okay. All right. I hope I answered your questions, guys. Yeah. Any other questions before we start the quiz?
Yeah, Praveen, I have one question.
Yes, please.
So from the region level, so you have mentioned that you can create a region based on resource group level or service level or feature level, right? So the moment you start a new project, suppose you can create one service for one region, let me say East US. So is there any possibility in real time that we can change the region in the middle of something? So once you created it, it's a East US. So once you created it, will it possible to change that region?
Very good question, right? The question is simple. Is it possible to change the region after it is created?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. Now, earlier it was not possible. 1 year back it was not possible, but now it is possible to some service or majority of the services. So there is something called as resource mover. So Microsoft has recently released this resource mover. Earlier it was not possible. So now using this, absolutely we can move resources from one resource group to other, from one location to other location. That's absolutely possible. See, more resources to another subscription is possible. More resources to other resource group within the subscription or across the subscription is possible, and more resources to another region is absolutely possible now. Earlier, this was not available earlier. A year back, it was not there. Yeah, that's a good question. So many people do not know that. In case in interview people ask it, be confident, just remember their names. There is a new resource now, there is a new feature which is available in Azure, which will help us in moving the resource from one region to other region is absolutely possible.
Resource, every time resource is nothing but a service, or how can
Good
you
question, right?
remember that?
So what is the difference between a service and a resource?
Yeah.
That's the question. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
now, so how many resources do you see here?
Two.
Sorry, two.
Two.
How many services do we see here? One.
One.
App service is a service. Okay, these are
Plan is
all
for
app
billing.
services. These are also app services only. So if I talk in object-oriented world, you might have heard about class and objects, right? If you have learned C, C++, not C, but C++ in your academics, you might have definitely heard about class, objects, right? So service is like a class and resources are like objects.
Okay.
These are all services. But when you click on this, these are all resources. You see all the resources. Now you see there is all services. So all these are part of this particular list. These are all services. Okay, so another example, we are all human beings. That's a service. Human being is a service. Praveen is a resource. Rajendra is a resource. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, Praveen. Thank you.
Yeah, good. So let me quickly share you a link for the quiz. Yesterday I forgot, guys. Yesterday I did not share you the quiz. So let me share it. Today's one. I will also share yesterday's one. So whoever has not done that before, they can do it. I'm sharing an URL. Just give me a second. It should not ask you any login. If it asks you any login, please let me know. I'm sharing this in GoToMeeting chat, guys. So, yep, it's there now. Yeah, you can start answering the questions. I'm okay even if you search in internet for any answer if you don't know something. If you don't have time now, you can do it later as well. No issues.
These quizzes also we can access after the course also, right? Just for review purpose.
Sorry?
This quiz link you are giving, right? This is temporary for one day, or how it will be? Like these questions and all.
It depends. I might disable that later. So any other questions, guys? I'm done from my end. Let me know if you have any other questions. I have a few more minutes left.
So, Praveen, we need to submit the quiz and we will get the results immediately, or how it is actually?
Yeah, it will tell you the results there itself.
Hello, Pawan sir. Praveen sir.
I'm Praveen, not Pawan.
Yeah, Praveen sir. ఇది DevOps లో ఏం టూల్స్ చెప్తారు సార్ మీరు? ఏం టూల్స్ కవర్ చేస్తారు?
I have shared you the course, right? You are from whom, Prashant?
Yeah, Ravenson's Institute, sir.
Okay, I will share him the course content. I will talk to Venu. I will share the course content. You can be in touch
Okay,
with
okay.
him.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Yep, I can see one response. Vijay is done. Good, Vijay.
I'm a bit wondering, like the 10 question.
Sorry?
Can I ask question, or it will distract people? Actually, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, please go ahead. You can ask your question. No?
So when we create a web app, actually, it requires a connection string. So irrespective of database decides which resource group, it doesn't matter, right? It's a connection string. So why the answer is no? That's wondering.
It's a negative question.
Cannot. Oh shit. God.
It's a negative question. Good. Yeah.
Can you repeat again? What is the non-regional service? What is it mean by exactly? Like it doesn't require region location to be specified.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
So basically, we'll see that score in the top right hand side as soon as you submit. Yeah. I think 2 people have submitted so far. I think both of you got 10 out of 12, I guess, right? 12, yeah, out of 12, you got, both of you got 10. Good. Yeah, now I think many people have submitted. Many of you got 9. Good.
You will share every day some questions like this, right?
Sorry.
Every day we'll have some quiz, right?
Almost. If we are completing that particular topic that day, yes, we will see the session. I mean, this quiz immediately. Sometimes some topics will span across days.
Okay.
In that case, for example, ARM templates, we might take a couple of days, right? 4 days or 5 days. So you will see ARM template at the end. That kind of. So apart from this, guys, I will also share you interview questions. These are just quiz, right? It's very simple, but interview questions will also be shared with you guys. Those things will be helpful for interview. Even this will also be helpful, but it's not more, you don't have more theory here, right? So I will share you the interview questions which are more of theory, which will help you in interviews.
Are those are part of case studies kind of questions, right?
No.
Interview
Case
questions.
studies is the hands-on sessions that I will be doing every day. Assignments are different. I will be giving you assignments as well. Okay, for example, every day I do some hands-on, right? It's not possible to cover everything. So the next steps that you should do, right? It's also your responsibility to learn more beyond what I can teach, because I don't know everything. So though I have been working in Azure since 7 years or more than 7 years, right? So I will document some of the things. For every Azure service, I will be giving you some assignments so that you can learn from there.
So Praveen, one question. I'm from the development background. Azure DevOps is mainly, if I not correctly understood it or understood correctly, is mainly towards the infrastructure people.
Automating the infrastructure. So basically, DevOps is a role which sits in the middle. It sits between developers and infra guys.
Yeah, the configuration management people, you can call.
Yeah, you can call that way. Its role is DevOps engineer.
Yeah, it is very much
It all
popular
depends.
nowadays.
In small projects, small companies, if you join a team, probably your role could be developer plus DevOps engineer as well. So now I'm working in a large company, right? I keep changing projects every year. So I have played a DevOps. So my career is all developer since many years. I mean, when I started as a developer. So I played, a migration SME, a DevOps architect, a DevOps engineer. Again, I went into development. I came back again. I'm doing automation. So depending on the project, depending on your team, depending on your project manager, so your role will vary. So let's say you, after this course, you definitely will try for a job, right? You will just say that I am an Azure developer. So your project manager might not be technical. So for them, everything is Azure, including Azure DevOps. All they focus, all they carry is billing, right? So it all depends on your manager as well, your management as well. It all depends on your company structure. So small companies, they expect you to do everything. Large companies, for everything, they will have separate teams. So now you might ask me another question. My only interest, my only aspiration is development. Now tell me, how does this Azure DevOps help me? Definitely you need to have automation knowledge in the future. Obviously you cannot be developer all the time, right? You will have to become an architect down the line. So definitely architect needs DevOps knowledge as well, DevOps experience as well. Okay, all right. I can see 24 responses. The average is 8.5, which is good, pretty good. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. I will let you go now. I think it's late now. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good day. Bye bye.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Praveen. Yes.
Thank you. The maximum score is 10. Nobody has crossed 10. 10, 9. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good day ahead. Bye bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Praveen. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, one person got 12. Very good. Sampath. Good.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hmm.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you share recorded video, sir? Last class and today.
Sure. Who is your point of contact?
Ravansan.
Ravan. Sure. I will share it with Venu.
Yes, and also the slides.
Slides you can download from there itself. Yeah, tomorrow I will show you. I'll let you know how to do that.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.